Hi everyone, good morning. How are you today? I'm Professor Turbulent. I'm Brazilian professor here, PhD in International Management. And I also coordinate some of the programs offered by our partners, universities around the world, and together with International Business Americas. First of all, I'd like to thank you for connecting to our channel and the YouTube for the purpose of this webinar. I'd like to say that we're going to discuss about how companies can prepare themselves to face periods of economic turbulence. It's a very important topic nowadays. As you all know, the economies in most emerging countries were not performing well in the last few years. Now that the world's economy seems to be recovering, it's a good moment for us to stop and thinking about how a company can grow based on this scenario, right? How a company can succeed in terms of economic turbulence, in terms of economic change. So our agenda includes talking about the current economic scenario, um, trying to understand together in terms of what's happening with the global economy and especially uh, the impacts it has in the emerging countries as well, right? Then I would like to talk to you about the strategic planning in terms of the context of economic change and utilizing not only theory but also practical examples for you to understand well, which are the adaptation from in the strategy that a company shall use. Also to be able to grow during this crisis and also to overcome the crisis as well. I expect it will take around 15 minutes, and then I will go for a question and answers at the end. The question and answers, I have here the help of Vini Fonseca, that's very close to me here. And the subjects we'll be discussing, we can reply to at the end. And also includes some information about the international short-term programs that we run in every January and July. Short-term programs that I will present to you later for you to analyze and get this opportunity, okay? I hope you enjoy it. We have already some questions from your friends. If you want to send your questions as well, I suggest you to log in the YouTube by clicking on the chat at the right side of your screen, and then you send us your email and keep an eye on our talk, and I'll send us your question, and I'll be more than glad to reply to you at the end of this webinar. All right? And also don't forget, if you want the certificate for participating in this webinar, please fill out the form we are going to post on the chat in order to confirm your presence, and then you can guarantee your certificate. Okay? All right, so let's start. Let me tell you a very important thing. Fear is not a good advisor. Those in the periods of times, in periods of crisis, are driven by fear, we will only make the situation on the company that you work worse, right? And we will only make your career situation worse as well. And on the contrary, we need to pull our strengths and fight it. We need to seek for new ideas and reach the new ways for moving forward. And just as you are doing here right now, participating in this webinar, it's very important for you to bear in mind that in a lot of companies have proven that it's possible to grow. It's possible to grow. It's possible to prosper during these turbulence times, during crisis. Lots of professionals have stand out on their careers with new ideas for launching new actions, and their careers also went prospering. So what I want to help you to stop by and thinking of these professionals. And my intention is that your company, based on the suggestions we want to present to you right now, be able to grow. Because if your company grow, you're going to grow as well. And please have a look on the information I'm going to show you on the screen. And these are the most recent, for example, the forecast numbers from IMF. about the world economic growth from these years, also for coming 2019. You can see that on your screen. See that the advanced economies in the world, led by the United States and also led by Germany, will grow little, but they will grow this year, and there's a forecast for growth next year as well. They will grow even a little more than the previous years as well, at a rate of over around 2% a year. And also, well, in terms of the emerging countries in general, we have their they have their issues to grow, but it's important for you to understand why they have their issues. And when there was a crisis, saying we can go back in 2008 and 2009, the crisis that affected the financial system of the rich countries. There was a capital migration from developed countries to the poor ones. So there was this movement from developing countries to poor ones. So since 2014, the moment of the developing economies in Europe and United States start to grow again. And these capitals that flew to emerging markets started their way back to the rich countries. So the movement of the capitals went to the developing countries, then went back to the richer countries, and the dollar, as infection, is impacting the currency in the world. And so less capital in the emerging countries, economic development is affected, and there's no way to escape from this. And the valuation of the currencies on those emerging economies as well. Okay, let's see now what's happening to the emerging countries' economy for you to have an idea. Those emerging countries that grow strongly in 2010 and also 2011 stopped growing so fast in 2015. So there was like a stop for a moment, and now it's growing back to around 4% average per year. As we can see, that IMF expectation for this year is a slight recover with 4.9% for 2018 and 5.1% for next year. And of course, it's an average number. And unfortunately, we can see that Brazilian economy is pushing down the average, and together with the Russian economy, which is also suffering. And we know that political decisions have influence over economy performance, and in each of these specific countries. So in Brazil and Russia, they were impacted by the political issues, and there were mistakes also that took their economy to slight better, or slight worse in the current scenario. All right. That remind me the famous opening lines of Tolstoy in the book of Anna Karenina. If you take a look on this book, it's very interesting. It's a wonderful book. The author says that happy families are alike, all are alike, while every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. And in the economy, we can say that it's more or less the same, okay? So it's very similar to Tolstoy was saying to us. When the things go well, all governments are genius, the markets are well organized, families are buying and saving in the right proportion, everything goes well. But when the economy shrinks, it goes in the other way around. The analysts analyze and realize that each country has different perspective because they have different scenarios. So no sense action, but in the crisis, I will be more or less intense in each region because of the different reasons. Okay, in Brazil, for instance, it was a major political instability. In the case of Russia, similar issues took place, increased by the deep dependence of Russia on the petroleum exportation, and also in Venezuela because of the petroleum dependence as well. And China is another example. It's in a transitory period from a state-controlled economy to an open market-driven economy, from an industrial economy to a service-based economy, and this transition are not easy to deal with. It's very complicated, it's very complex, especially nowadays with the rise of trade tension with the United States, that I could not forget to mention to you about this, right? Finally, every country has a story to tell us when explaining why things are getting worse. So we understand from their bad examples. But the fact is that the world is not going to be a collapse. Okay. Please take a look on the table. I'm going to show you right now. The global economy might grow 3.9% this year, which is more than what the world grew last year, led by the emerging countries that may grow around 4.9% this year in 2018, almost the double of the developing countries' growth rate, if you consider the comparison, which may be around 2.4 for the developing countries. So, my dear friends, if someone was awaiting for the end of the world, if someone was beating or betting on a total collapse of the world, it will be necessary to wait a little bit longer, because the world economy is going well, besides the problems in some economic aspects. And my suggestion is to every manager is to work hard, dry your tears, and come back to work. Okay, and then move on. Now, completing our thought is I'm going to talk to you about what the companies from around the world are doing, with the highlights from companies from emerging countries are doing to face this adverse scenario. And I'm going to start talking to you about the perspective of internationalization of your business. The dollar is stronger in comparison with other currencies. We all know that, right? And we have to look at the emerging economy, the emerging countries' economy is getting better as well. Also, the developed countries' economies are recovering, right? That are you already know as well. Here's one question for you. I'd like to ask you to think about. What are you waiting to make the concrete export plans for your company? It could be for agribusiness, it could be for industry, for tangible goods or industrial products. And services as well. It's a huge market for service in terms of internationalization. As you can see, this slide that I'm going to present to you now indicates that we had in 2015 the biggest amount of foreign direct investment (FDI) since 2016. Okay, the cross-border flow of capital rose 44% in 2015. Last year, it reached $1.4 trillion, a lot of money. And there are also great news for exporters around the world, because even though we know that international trade in general is suffering at the moment, especially because of the raising of trade tensions between United States and some countries like China, Canada, and Mexico. But I can tell you that, as an example, United States imports of meat increased more than 80%. It's not only agricultural products that are now having more appeal in the American market. We can see also imports from automobile sector grew 40%, while aircraft increased more than 60% as well. It means that while some of you are crying, some people are crying, there are lots of people working, there are lots of people earning money and going there, right? I know that not all the business segments can go international, but that's a suggestion for you to think about and move forwards, all right? To be told, I must call now your attention for the companies waiting for the currency evaluation to decide if they are going to be internationalized or not. Okay, integrate your company to a global business is a task that might be part of the company routine, not because of the currency devaluation. And you watching this lecture at the moment, you must have this in mind. You should prepare yourself, you prepare your company and also your career to become a manager with a global perspective, to become a global leader. You should develop the ability to conduct your business in a global scales, to participate in these global opportunities. Otherwise, your career might be stuck in a certain point in the future. But we can talk about that, how we can do that in the end, when we mention about our programs that will be helping you increasing your soft skills. Now, I'm going to talk to you about the strategic actions about the companies that must follow in this moment, right, to overcome crisis and to overcome the problems. My first suggestion is, this is a painful suggestion. The company has to stop by and think about downsizing. Downsizing means reducing the company operation. The strategy to help this strategy help the company to maintain the organization in the trail, but with a widespread cost cuts. So you can downsize your company, reduce your costs, and your company will be trying to survive during the crisis moments. Okay, because if you're selling less, you have less revenue, you have to adjust your structure. But with your other results under the management point of view, you can also think about downscoping, not only downsizing, downscoping. What does that mean? You have to think about specific spending costs that you can consider out. You can take not attractive business units that are not so profitable. The units not in the center of your core business, but they are parallel. They are complementary from your business. So, and then you can focus on what you do best. Let me give you one example. An example that is very easy for you to understand. Microsoft, for example, recently they decided to implement this plan, reducing dramatically the number of employees, and it's in telephone area. So they reduced the number in specific area. They reduced their employees, allowing the company to focus on areas on software, specifically on Windows Suite, where they do best. They are the core business of Microsoft. Both downsize and downscoping promote cuts in the company expenses, and they are very important for you to survive during turbulent times. But it also can affect in your revenue as well, and lead you to keep the jobs as much as you can, precisely when the economy is not in a good shape, right? One of the worst decisions a manager must take in his life is to reduce the structure and lay off people. It's a very complex issue, but you have to consider sometimes a decision that has to be taken. Some options that I'm going to show you before taking to the drastic measures. You can also consider moving on your company to strategic alliances. These alliances can reduce costs, promoting cost sharing between rival companies as well. I'll give you some examples to make it easier for me to explain here and you understand the context better. There are three main types of strategic alliances. The first type of strategic alliance is synergistic. It's called synergistic because it aims to explore synergies between two competitors. You get two different companies, and you can see the synergy between these two companies, seeking to scope economies, an option to the loss of scales economies provoked by the crisis. So both companies can help each other. A recent example of this strategy was a joint venture between Ambev and also Whirlpool. Ambev is a global company with headquarters in Europe, and Whirlpool is an American company, as you can see, very, very famous one as well. Together, they create a company to explore a market of B-blend, to develop a homemade drink market in Latin America. The B-blend is a kind of appliance used for making drinks at home. Okay, and so in isolation, neither company could drive into this market, but together their chance of success is much higher. It has increased a lot. So that's an example of synergistic action. Another strategic alliance option goes to the popular name of franchising. Franchising is a spectacular way to attract partners and investors to your company. That today dominates all the retail markets worldwide. One question for you: is the company has enough resource to expand? How are we going to do this? You can launch franchise and you can get there and expand your capital, and it would be much easier. You'd have been using this also to boost your competitors as well. This was the case of the Mexican retailers, where the companies that overcome economic restriction attracting local and also foreign investors to the Mexican markets, while other Mexican economy grew, while the overall Mexican economy grew at 2.5% this year, franchise companies increased 4 times than that, 10%. But there was one form of alliance as well that I could not leave out because it's very important, especially because it can save your company lots of times in crisis, and you can boost your competitors, you can grow. Okay, and the third one would be the try to push for complementary alliances between companies. They look for it's very similar to synergistic alliances that I explained to you a few seconds ago, but in the case of the complementary alliances, two or more firms exchange part of the operations. Again, I will leave you an example for make it very easy for you to understand. The company called BR Foods in Brazil, from Brazil, and also Singapore Food Industries both companies struggle for the food market in Asia. Both did a whole process of production to distribution. Okay, they were isolated between the two companies. It turns out that BR Foods is a much stronger in terms of production. They are very good on production, while SFI was very strong in logistics. So we have one side production, the other company logistics. With the alliances between these two companies, BR Foods can devote more intensively to food production, where they do great, leaving logistics to Singapore Foods, where they are also excellent in terms of operation. Singapore Foods entered then to partnering, offering the structure of local logistics to BR Food, leaving the production to BR Foods. Okay, so and then they got success. Do you got it? I hope this example can help you to understand the complementary alliances. Is that okay so far? Just remember that at the end we will have time for you to have questions. Send your questions via our chat at the YouTube at the right side of your screen. Click on there, connect your Gmail account, and send us your message, and I'll be more than glad to help you and reply to your question. Okay. Also, I'd like now to give one more example of a strategy for you to face a period of turbulence times. I suggest the company to focus on differentiation. That's the key. Differentiation in your products. Differentiate yourself. Strategies that allow companies to offer great quality of products and service, even though when the crisis knocks down your door, sales and when the sales are weak, then lots of inquiries come in, such as what our company must do, and what should I do, what I should be doing. And my first suggestion is to improve your quality. Consider to look and offer an increasement of quality to your customers, and increasing quality is a strategy that means that the organization finds not only new products but new methods of producing the products, new methods for selling, ways to be better understand and what the customer expects from you, and also to enhance the progress to them. The result can be the complement of lots of customers. This may bring you cost down as well, operational costs, and also create fidelity to your customers, and will help you to sell more. In some cases, it will allow you to increase price sometimes, help you to recover your lost margins or the lower number of sales, volume of sales you had because of the turbulent times. Another thing you can think about is to deal with the effects of the crisis, to invest in innovation. Innovation is another strategy I'd like to touch base with you right now. Aims to offer you a product, to offer the customer a product that contain a stamp to customers, seeking out the lower cost, the competitors, meeting them, new solutions for your customers. That's what you need to think about it. One specific form of innovation is through provision of service to the customer, which brings us the next strategy suggestions to combat the crisis. Increasing the service. That's another strategy you can now thinking about. Unlike the previous ones, increasing the service has some advantage. You can increase the value you deliver to your to your customer. Maybe it does not involve you changing products. That's very good as well. Also, you may still have some jobs you can keep in, don't have to downsize your company. And then moving forward, then to the next strategy, I'd like to in terms of for you to face the bad times in the economy, is you have to think about this and also improve the communication value. Once you improve the quality and you have the differentiation, and you have to communicate the value that your customer is buying from your company, because they must see all the benefits inherent in your products. Must have a very clear communication value to them, especially in times of crisis, because it will be magnified for you, and you need to better communicate what your product can deliver to your customer, and then they can perceive that they are good for them, and then they will create a fidelity to your company. And another thing you have to think about is segmentation. To go faster, I'll give you an example, okay? I know you are out of time almost. Myanmar has a traditional food exporter to Europe and also several countries. They might be doing very great, and they are doing very great as well at the moment, and they are facing the opposite of crisis, okay? What they did, the company I'm going to mention to you is called Shui Panlao. Yes, I hope I have spelling correctly. Because last year, it was the first exporter in Asian country to be certified by Organic International Organization. This goal was to reach new markets, the market with a greater purchasing power, the organic market, through the more health and more conscious market positioning their product to the organic markets, and they improve their penetration in the market. So segmentation is another strategy I suggest to you, okay? In this webinar, so we mentioned about the strategy for emerging markets. I hope you have enjoyed this little conversation that we have taken so far. As we don't have any time left based on our schedule, I'm reached to the end of my presentation. I would like to thank you again for being here today with us. I know the topic is difficult. I know that the economy, the moment the economy is changing again, the economy is in a moment of recovery, with some strange signs in some specific countries, and hopefully these ideas and tips will help you to develop your market strategies and in times of economic turbulence. And also I'd like to hear what your questions are. So, but before we go moving on and reading your questions, I'd like to share with you that IBS is working with some very traditional universities around the world, and universities that offers with IBS scholarships for the students from around the world, especially for emerging markets students. The programs take place during a specific period of the year. There are 2 or 3 weeks of classes, depending on the date. It includes company visits. All the programs includes company visits. They are all taught in English with PhD professors and with professors with great market experience. And I guarantee you're going to love it. The programs will approach several areas of the business areas, such as marketing, innovation, globalization, management, and also strategy and marketing for emerging countries as well, which I would like to see. And I'm going to send you a picture, some picture for you. I hope you can be one of these pictures in the graduation, will be you. And pay attention about the deadline. The deadline is September 16th for the application for the next season's scholarship. So next Sunday ends our deadline. Please send your application form, and I hope I can see you in the picture on the graduation ceremony in one of our programs. Okay. Right now, we're gonna also receive your application for the scholarship at IBS Americas. That's an email you can also send to us your application to Vinny, who will be more than glad to help you any clarify any doubts. Okay. Vinny, we're gonna have some questions has already some questions for you. Please keep on sending your questions. Every question is very important for us, and we know that the debate is great. I hope I can reply, clarify, and share my ideas for most of them. Okay, so now let's open for the questions and answers for this webinar. Let's see, Vinny, do you have any questions?
Hi, Aldo. Yes, I have a question from Murtala Musa. The first question is from Senegal, from Kojep. And first question is, how can we make good strategic planning?
Wow, that's a great question. How can we make a good strategic planning from Senegal? Great, thank you. Well, this reminds me. Well, there are several ways for you to operationalize your strategy in terms of strategic planning. I like some templates, especially one for McKinsey, which is a very famous consulting American company, and they have like 10 aspects you can consider. The first one you have to put in your strategic plan an executive summary. So you have to put in there what is your purpose, what your expectation in terms of for your board of directors or for the entrepreneurs people who's going to fund you for create a new job to consider. And then you have to make it, the second point is making a market analysis in terms of the market penetration you want to enter. You need to see the volume of the market, the consumer, the price that your product is located, and how you could understand all the information you think about the market, the product you are thinking about to launch or to penetrate. You have to understand the market. It's a very important thing for you. You also have to, in the third point, is to analyze the competitors of the markets. I mean, who are my main competitors? How they are positioned, how they are pricing their products, how they are having profits, they are having loss. So you have to have this in your strategic plan as well. And then I would suggest you to do a SWOT analysis. That's the number 4, because a SWOT analysis will give you an idea in terms of your strength, your opportunities, your weakness, and how you can integrate these ideas in the market. Okay. And then number 5, you have also have a very clear mission and vision statement. What you want to be in the next 5 years, what you want to get in the 5 years, what your company is going to represent to the world, to the market. It's very important to have this in your strategic plan. I agree with McKinsey. 6, you have to put strategic goals. I mean, every time you have a goal, you try to pursue that goal. So I want to have 10% of the market share. I want to have X percentage of profit level. I want to have the number of employees. This kind of information is quite important for you to have an idea. Even though sometimes this might think, oh, but you have to have a goal. You have to have a goal. You have to have where to go, right? And then I would like to develop a strategic map. What does that mean? you have to see this, how you're going to be integrated this with your company in terms of how you're going to do. Try to understand all the gaps. I mean, all based on the SWOT analysis. This will give lots of ideas, and put this in the following number 8 action will be the balance scorecard, and also indicators that you're going to monitor frequently, specifically, and tangible index. Okay, you have to think about this. They have to be realistic. They have to be attractive. They have to be motivated numbers, and you have also to monitor how you are performing in your goals. Okay, so balance scorecard is a good tool for you to consider using in your strategic plan as well. And then you go for a roadmap in terms of cash flow, in terms of project planning, how we're going to do in terms of when, who is going to do what and when. It's very important for you to have names. Very important for you to have what you're going to do and the responsibility and the date. Put a date on it. Every time you put a date, you're gonna get the goal reached. Okay, I guarantee you. And then you have to have a summary. What was your expectation, and any information you can put in a number 10 actions in terms of summarizing or your strategy plan. Okay, so these ideas are operational ideas for you to put the strategic plan in place, and I expect these ideas was good for you in Senegal. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than glad to keep in contact with you for talking about that. Okay? I hope I answered your question. Let me see if we have another one.
Yes, I have another question. It comes from Andreas Belchior from the University of Cape Town in South Africa. This question is, does lower currency show that the economic condition of the country is worse?
Thank you very much from South Africa question. That's great to have you here today. Yes, indeed, the evaluation of the currencies that is going to show how the economy is facing the power of your local currency. So when you have a devaluation in your local currency, you can purchase less in strong coins, like for example US dollars, euros, Japanese yen, or these are coins that we consider strong coins because of all the history so far. And then currencies from emerging markets like Brazil, South Africa, Argentina, can devaluate very easily, depends on the scenario. We have the case from Argentina, for example. Recently, they are facing some difficult problems in Argentina. They are not be able to be competitive in terms of international markets. The devaluation also is helping them to export a little bit more. However, they had to go to IMF to get yesterday, Christian Lagarde approved to Argentina $50 billion for them to balance their international accounts because they were going to have some problems. We also see that Turkey is another country with a little bit problems. There was on the emerging markets because of the economic and political situation there. Brazil has some political instability, but in terms of economy, international numbers, in terms of reserve, Brazil has a very good reserve. So we have Brazil has like a 2 years of import volume. So we don't forecast any lack of international strong currency in Brazil. So that will be only political instability. If Brazil solve the political instability, they will grow even more in the following years. We also have South Africa because of also the political instability recently changed presidents. But you can see, according to IMF as well, the economic growth for this year and for next year is going to go up. So, and we expect that South Africa will also grow much further as the economic and the political scenario is more stable as well. As we say, usually I say, economy and politicians are very close. I mean, they like boyfriends. They give hands and they walk together. If they, sometimes the political scenario is not so good, the economic scenario is not so good as well. If the political scenario is good, is stable, the economic scenario is okay as well. So it's like a marriage between two components in the economy that needs to be in harmony, needs to be complementary to grow and allowing the economy to go up. Okay, I hope I have answered your question from South Africa. Thank you very much for it. Vinny, do you have any questions?
We have one more
One
question.
more?
It comes from, excuse me, here. It comes from Mary Sissoko from Cesar University, also in Senegal.
Senegal.
So, why the Brazilian bureaucracy is not creating much public value?
Why Brazilian bureaucracy?
Is not creating much public value.
Much public value. All right. Okay. Brazil is very well known in terms of opening markets, in terms of bureaucracy. Latin America, in terms, has this problem. Is some way of the cultural in Latin America countries to be more formal in terms of bureaucracy. We expect sometimes bureaucracy, if you go to Max Weber, for example, in terms of bureaucracy, sometimes it's important to an organization to stabilize the process. However, as we go in excess of bureaucracy, it does not help at all. In fact, the bureaucracy block the company and the market to grow. In a certain way, bureaucracy can guarantee you manage the risk. That's the truth. Okay. However, bureaucracy can also block you to get the opportunities that are out in the market, especially in the government, as you mentioned, government purchases. Because of corruption, because of the involvement of corruption, we think that bureaucracy would formalize better the bids and formalize the government purchase would have a clear picture in terms of who's going to be the winner, how they're going to supply, and how they're going to do the attending the market. However, the excess of bureaucracy block some companies and to improve and get better, lower cost the operation for supplying the markets with a more competitive price and also with a better service, because we expect from the government at the end to have a very good service to the society, because we pay taxes. We also sometimes we pay for their government's the services, and sometimes, especially in emerging markets, the government is not being able to be excellent for the society. I usually use the example for United Kingdom, for example, who during Margaret Thatcher times, they privatized most of their service, and the government was staying the core business of the government, which means managing, regulating the market, see if there is no excess of few comparative monopoly in a specific market, because competition will increase the price, increase the service. Even though also they privatized education in the United Kingdom in the 80s, we can also see that this is reflecting until today. United Kingdom is a very competitive country in terms of innovation, in terms of technology, even though they are discussing about the Brexit nowadays, but even the education in English is very well known as a high quality, is a completely privatized system, and the government gives funds for the best schools to the students directly, and this creates a more competitive way for improving the society. Okay, I hope I have answered your question from Senegal. Thank you very much for being here with us today. Vinny, do you have any question?
Yeah, they have two questions from our colleagues in the YouTube chat tab. And the first one is from Bonto Monia, and both questions are regarding our programs. And the first question is, as a law student, this topic is very unfamiliar to me regarding something you were explaining to us.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering how I could benefit from this program as someone who is not pursuing a career in economics, but in law as he's a law student.
Mhm.
What avenues could obtaining a certificate from IBS open for me?
All right. We have some good programs. We have students from several areas of knowledge, not only for economic and not only for business. They come sometimes from law. They come sometimes from health service sometimes, and even though other segments as well. So don't you worry, because of course, you're going to be focusing on law, but you need to be a leader in your process. You need to manage projects in your process. You need to think about strategic planning. You need to think about how you're going to strategically use the information you have from your customer to move on the process and get success in court and get success for advising your company to create a very competitive business, because of course one of the strategic planning you have to consider the applying for local laws, applying for the legislation that are required for you to be competitive. You as a lawyer, you can also be a leader in terms inside the organization, help the executive businessman to make the right decisions. So if you understand the core business in terms of marketing strategy and even finance, but you're not going to be so much familiar in finance, but I would suggest you consider programs in the leadership programs and also in terms of strategic planning. Okay, for example, we have an excellent program for you in Brazil called Strategy March for Emerging Countries, where you can study in São Paulo. It's a 2 or 3 week programs here in January and July, and you can send the information, ask the information, and Divini can send you the details. The program includes company visits, includes a model of the Portuguese survival as well for you to integrate in terms of understand how the business works in Brazil, which is an emerging country, emerging economy. Even though we are facing some economic instability, political instability nowadays, the economic is going back to flow in the following months, in the following year. I'm very positive thinking about that. As we're going to have the election this year, we are cleaning out lots of problems in terms of corruption in Brazilian bureaucracies, and then we expect for the following years will be go. The population of Brazil is over 200 million people. There are lots of markets opportunity for you to join in the market, and not only in the United States, but also in emerging economies like Brazil. In terms of strategic planning, we have some programs in California. For example, one program called Strategy and Marketing, where you can also study strategic planning, strategic actions, and more international markets. There's one program in California as well for you called Leading Coaching Human Organization, which is specifically for helping students to understand how to create a high performance team, how to deal with your emotions in terms to be a leader, how to deal with your emotion among your group in terms to have to get the high performance from them. It's a very good program as well that I recommend to you. If you have a MBA program, you can also apply for a advanced program in business strategy in California, which is an excellent program for you as well, or even advanced topics in project management. Because as I mentioned, a lawyer, even though you more in terms of process, but you're gonna manage your process in terms of a project. So it's very, very good for you to have some soft skills developed in terms of that specific area. That's my recommendation for you. If you still have any questions, please email to Vinny, and then he'll be more than glad to schedule a specific conference call for you. And also can join the conference if it's needed. But Vinny is a great person. We give you all the support for you. Okay. I hope I have answered your question. I think we have one more question you mentioned.
Yes, I have a question from the YouTube chat tab, and three more from WhatsApp. So the first one is from Ms. Larinda Nicolaus from the chat tab. What if I have the idea, knowledge for a business that can develop me and the economy, but finances is not good enough?
That's a good point because sometimes you have a great idea, but you don't have funds for implement your idea. It's a paradigm for us because lots of entrepreneurs face this problem. Yeah, my suggestion for you to look in your country or for agencies that support new ideas. There's also people found that support new ideas because they are interested to join fantastic ideas. They call angels. I'm not sure if you have heard about angels funds, which are a group of funds that capital funds who are really open to hear about new ideas. And then you can schedule a meeting with them. You can schedule a presentation. You're gonna show them what your idea are, and also you can show them your strategic plan. Follow the strategic plan I mentioned to you. They will feel you're confident in what you're saying, and they will put money for you. Usually they stay in your company for 2 3 years and then they go out. So you have to prepare your company when they want to go out. So you have to think about that because they want their money back. Okay, they're gonna put the money for you, but they want their money back because they're investors. They are investors looking for new opportunities. There are lots of angels, funds, and capitals you can look. That's a great opportunity for you, and I'm sure don't leave your good idea in your drawer. Use it and get move on. Make a strategic plan and look for angels that can listen what you're talking about. Okay, I hope I have give you an idea about this. Great question. Thank you very much.
Okay, the next question comes from WhatsApp, excuse me. So, what economic policy can companies in developing countries implement to develop the economy of their country? It comes from Mr. Fadel from Senegal.
Okay, can you repeat again?
What economic policy can companies in developing countries implement to develop the economy of the country?
The economy of one company is not only government expand, it's also based on companies that spend as well. So if a company has a great strategic plan, a great plan, and also if the company is missing for funds, as the previous question came in, the company can also go for government official banks. Usually developing banks also can support the companies to grow. As the company grow, the level of employment grow. The level of employment growing, people has more money. People have more money, you're going to spend more. Spending more, they're going to make a movement of the economy much faster. This will create a circle of positive action, positive environment. That's what we want the governments to think about, and also the companies, because from on the company's perspective, what we need to do is to put those strategic I mentioned to you in place, especially in terms of having a competitive cost, in terms of having completely zero waste in our production, zero waste in our process, because waste is something that hit the companies very badly. This allow the cash flow to enter in the company, and the company with cash flow can invest more, and then investing more, that creates you an idea in terms of having money to have more business, and more business, more jobs, more consumption, the economy goes up. Okay, that's part of the circle, economic circle, and I'm very confident it's a complementary of the governments. So the economies play a very important role in terms of moving the economies up. Usually, when there's a crisis, the companies it goes downsizing because we have to adjust the structure, otherwise the company may die. However, we have also to think ahead in terms of improving, in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of innovation, in terms of giving the company, the country, some return from the opportunities that the country is giving to the company. I hope I have answered your question. Let me see if I have one more question.
One more.
Okay.
It's from Mr. Christopher. His question is, any policy that will encourage the locals to patronize local-made product or local content?
Mhm. That's a dilemma because some more popular governments try to implement policy in terms of having a minimal nationalized products in the market. In a certain way, in the first moment, Brazil has done this a lot. And in the first moment, it creates some industries. In the first moment, creates some opportunities. However, in the long run, if the government does not take this policy out, it's very bad for the market because the local companies are very stable in terms of getting the market share. They don't think about innovating. They don't think that there's competition. So they are, let's say, freeze. They are not competitive in terms of bringing new ideas, bringing innovation in terms of anything. For example, let's give you one example for car production. If your government in your country requests that 60% of your car needs to be local, okay? And the first moment is great because you're going to move a lot of the economy, but in the long run, I mean, if the government does not have policy in terms of pushing universities to bring innovation, giving the motivation for the companies to innovate the car, that will be stopping in the timeline, and then the car in your country is going to be very old-fashioned with less technological products in it. Let's compare one car, for example, in one specific emerging country and with the cars sold in the United States. United States is a very open-mind market, and then they have the best competitors win, so the price and services and everything. So the competition in the United States also brings the best services for the customer and also increase the economy. But if your country I'm not sure where you're from, maybe Senegal, for example, you want to develop that specific segment, in the first moment it's good, but the government needs to think how they're going to be out in a few, maximum 5 years, because they cannot be controlling this, because that will be damage the quality of the products, that will damage the competition, that will damage the innovation that the products come in. What the government can do is invest in the education, innovation in some universities, bring the policy in terms of some incentives for you to develop local producers, and also bring the university to join the efforts with these companies to keep the technology up. Otherwise, your products will be obsolete. Okay, I hope I have answered your question.
No, no more questions.
No more question. I hope I have answered your question. Thank you very much for joining us in this webinar. We are talking about emerging markets and strategic planning in turbulent times. Just to close our presentation, I'd like just to highlight again that we have the scholarship program that will help you to develop soft skills in terms of to be a global leader. And we have very excellent programs in some universities. At the moment, we have California and in Brazil programs. Their programs are completely taught in English. As I mentioned, we have programs in strategy, we have programs in finance, have programs in business, project management, have programs in human resource and leadership, and also strategy market for emerging countries. So if you are interested to one of these programs, the deadline for you to send your application is the next Sunday. We are open now this session also to share with you my ideas in terms of how to manage a company in emerging countries in turbulent times, and also to remind you that next Sunday we're going to have the deadline for the scholarship program we have nowadays. The programs are excellent. I guarantee you, you're going to love the experience to live in California for 3 weeks or come to Brazil, understand how the emerging markets works here. In California, you also get for free half-day business English program. Some of the countries are native speaker, so you don't have to do that. But for those countries who are not native speaker in English, the University of La Verne in California, California State University, also offer you for free to help the developing countries to get the human resource with a better English level. So we study a thematic program like business strategy and also business English half day. Also, if you don't have the English level to be in 100% program, in California there's one business English program as well. You can study from the intermediate level. An excellent opportunity for you to stay and get to know the economic environment in the United States, in California. In California itself, you consider if you put in a rank in terms of economy, that will be number 8 economy, richest economy in the world. Only California state. California state is the richest country in the United States. Has all the technological companies in the Silicon Valley, all the entertainment, and also the movement from the logistics. It's a port of entry from lots of Chinese products that come from Los Angeles port and goes to the East Coast. So it's a great opportunity for you to go to California. If you prefer to study a little bit more in terms of emerging markets, in Brazil we have a strategy market for emerging countries. You come to Brazil for 2 or 3 weeks and it's going to study half day from Monday to Thursday. You're going to have classes in terms of full day classes, and the same in California, full day from Monday to Thursday. Here in Brazil, instead of business English, you have some survival Portuguese. You're going to learn a little bit about Portuguese in Brazil. You're gonna visit companies in Brazil. You're gonna visit companies in the United States as well. You're gonna have some optional campus visits. You can go locations. You can go, for example, in Brazil, you can go to Rio de Janeiro or any other beaches. You can visit. In the United States, you can go to Las Vegas. You go to Santa Monica Boulevard, to Hollywood Boulevard, and also if you want to go a little bit up in the states, you can go to San Francisco and visit Silicon Valley as well during your stay. Okay. There are great opportunities, and I have been there with all these programs, coordinating them as well. All the students' feedback are excellent, and I guarantee you that you're going to have an amazing opportunity. You're going to be able to develop your soft skills, prepare yourself to be a global leader, to prepare yourself to face these turbulent times that comes from time to time. This will not stop because this is part of this economic circle. I mean, ups and downs sometimes, and you as a manager, you need to be ready to go. You need to be supportive. You need to be in terms of you have developed your skills to understand the scenario, to plan, and to make it happen. Okay, that's what the company waits for you. They want people who are ready to go. I was reading the other day one research in the United States that 35% of the companies are not finding people ready to fulfill their jobs because they are lack of soft skills. In terms of making presentations well, in terms of presenting themselves in a good way, understand it correctly. Sometimes people lose a job because of this. And also it's a great opportunity because all the programs we offer, they have active methodology. The student during these 3-week programs will be involved in the program. They will develop business cases in groups, try to work to developing in the individual student the ability how to manage a different perspective in the group, make presentations to the professors in classroom. So you're going to be losing your shy to speak in public. You're going to be involved in terms of these projects. At the end of the 2 weeks, we expect you to develop your background, you increase your academic background, you increase your network in your country, in your friends, and also you increase your soft skills and your ability to understand the business. Okay, lots of talks. Thank you very much for be patient and participate on so amazing questions from, especially from Senegal and South Africa. Thank you very, very much for your participation. Thank you, Vinny, for helping us in collecting the questions. And I hope to see you in the next edition of one program and see you in the picture I mentioned to you a few minutes ago. Okay? And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact Vinny and us, and I'll be more than glad to help you on find the right program for you to develop your soft skills to face the turbulent times that will come to us. Okay? Thank you. Have a nice day. Enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.